Kiwi businesses collapsing and being closed down at twice the rate compared to just 2 years ago. More than 600 businesses called in the liquidators over the past 3 months. 2 years ago, that number was around, over the same time period, was about 300. And company liquidations were up 19% in the month of July just gone. Most of them coming from the troubled construction and property sectors. But that doesn't take into account the businesses too small to even liquidate. Around 50,000 businesses just closed the doors and they walk away in the last year. That's what's happened in the last year. Little fanfare, no media coverage, just quietly closed the doors for the last time. Keith McLaughlin is Chief Executive of Centrix, and he joins me now. Keith, g'day, nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, Duncan.
50,000, I think 49,200 was the number. What sort of businesses are they closing down?
Well, a lot of them are retail businesses, hospitality. They're the small ones that really have been hit by the cost of living and also by the interest rate rises over the last 12 months.
And what would it normally be? So if we've seen 50,000 in the last year, well, that's up, of course.
It's certainly up. It's up about 38%, I think. So, yes, it's well up from where it was 12 months ago.
So it's almost doubled, isn't it?
Yes, it has, yes.
And so what are you saying? Is this they just can't, there's just no money trading through the doors?
I think what they found is that because consumers have really been under the pump and had to cut back on their discretionary spending, small businesses like hospitality, retail haven't had the money coming across the counter. Their costs have continued to rise because a lot of those businesses are funded by mortgages against the proprietor's house. So their cost of staff costs, their interest rates have continued to go up, and the revenue across the counter has dropped.
How long have you been in this game?
Oh, my brother and I started Bakewell back in 1987.
Oh, you're Bakewell? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So I've been around a long time.
Okay, so is this the worst you've seen it?
Yes, it is. I think because it's been more widespread. I think when you looked at things like the GFC and the Asian financial crisis, they tended to be targeted to maybe the stock exchange or people who have money invested in the finance company. But it's far broader this time.
87 share market crash?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I was there through that, and certain people who had investments lost a lot of money, and a lot of assets come on the market very cheap, BMW cars and boats. But it affected a far smaller percentage of the population. Because
this is really corrosive, isn't it? This just seems to spread and spread and spread, and still we don't know if we're at the peak or the end of it. You know, if we're about to turn the corner. It feels like we're about to, but the news keeps getting bad. I mean, Fisher House, a big restaurant in East Auckland, went under yesterday.
Yeah, I think we found some time ago that consumers were really under the pump, not because of where the interest rates are, but because of the rapid rise of interest rates caught a lot of them off guard. We've now seen that arrears for consumers are now stabilising. In fact, over the last 6 months, are starting to ease away a wee bit.
I saw them come back here. I think it was 465,000 people in arrears of some sort, down 9,000. So from May, I think, this year. So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's been trending down really since January. January was really high, but it's been trending down since then. So I think once the consumer confidence starts to come back into the market, they'll start spending again, and that'll help the businesses.
But the interest rates need to be cut, don't they? I mean, it starts there with the message from the Reserve Bank, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And consumer confidence is everything in this world. And I think if consumers start to believe, I think the one saving grace has been employment. That's remained fairly strong. Until now. And if that starts to erode away, then confidence will fall away. But if people think they can spend their money, they've got money coming in, confidence will build again, and then that will flow through to the businesses.
This is what inflation does, and a lot of people wouldn't have seen inflation because we've largely had this beast under control until now. So for decades, we didn't really see much of it. Sort of 2-3% was max. Now we've seen what it does. Yep. We'll see what interest rates aren't even historically. They're not even that high.
No,
I was paying 10% in 2007, so get real.
Yeah. But 2007 houses were an awful lot cheaper, and people had less debt on the books. So I think it's a combination of coming on the back of a rapid rise in asset values, caught people out.
How many sort of zombie firms are out there anyway in any 1 year? Because businesses always close down.
They
right?
do, yes.
Yeah, but this time you're saying it's 50,000 or close to 50,000, which is twice normally what it is.
I think you always see bad businesses close. I think what we're seeing now is good businesses close.
See, that's sad, isn't it?
And that's right. People invest a lot of their time, their effort. And when a business closes, it affects people. And often they've put money into the business, they mortgage their house to finance the business. So it's the flow-on impact on people's lives that really is concerning.
And do you see the human toll? Do you, from where you sit? Are you sort of more than numbers?
Yeah, we're more than numbers.
Yeah. But behind that is...
Yeah, we know behind that. I mean, we're in the community. We know what's going on. We've got people working for us. And I've been in the industry long enough to know that there is always a flow and impact. And going back in the days when I was debt collecting, you saw the rough end of the pineapple.
Well, you're knocking on doors, were you?
Well, that's how I first started.
Yeah.
I used to be out on the weekends repossessing. So
I'm not going to mess with you.
Yeah, I've had my turn of that.
Power bills. Just looking at some of your data from the last 24 hours. People are struggling with their power bills even, aren't they?
They are. I think when you look at arrears, most of them are falling away, but retail energy is the opposite to that. It's been rising. And we put that down to, it's certainly seasonal because the bills are higher at this time of the year, so that obviously impacts that. But also, consumers have cut back on discretionary spending. They're not going to the restaurants, they're not going to the cafes
That's
to the
obvious,
same
isn't it?
extent. Yeah. But they still have to use power and they still have to pay for power.
Yeah.
So that's really where the sore
That
appears.
hardship stuff, I think it's up close to on 30%. People are putting in place some of those hardship options. That's really high, isn't it?
Yeah, although I don't see that as a bad thing.
That's a good thing, yeah.
I think a hardship is good because if somebody is struggling to pay their mortgage, the fact that the lender and the borrower are talking to each other and restructuring the loan and doing what they need to do to manage their way through it, that's really positive. And I think that's why we haven't seen a high number of mortgagee sales coming through.
That's true, isn't it? There have been some, but it has
Certainly not
no
what
big
you'd
headline.
not what you expect.
It's the retail shops. It's these shops that are just clinging on. They were at the start of the year and they've really had no good news. I think we're set to see more, aren't we?
Well, I think so. It's a combination of the fact that, as you say, consumers aren't speeding like they used to. Also, online has grown quite dramatically over the last 2 years, and I think that's taking a lot of money away from the Queen Street shops. So I think the real estate shops are really struggling. You've seen that with Smith and Co. and other businesses.
How much longer are we in this for, do you reckon?
Well, look, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think consumers are now in control of their finances, and I think come September, October, we'll start to see more consumer confidence coming through as there's more confidence that interest rates aren't going to go any higher, cost of living isn't going to go any higher. So I think consumer confidence will come back in September, October.
And of course, so much of this is linked to the housing market. We, as an economy, we are $1.8 trillion housing market, which really controls the economy itself. So we have other businesses attached to housing. So when housing goes, we all go, but when it bounces back, we all come back. That's
right. And I think a lot of people are putting off discretionary spending. They're not doing the renovations. They're not buying a new car. They're putting it back till next year. They're not going to go out and buy a boat. They're going to defer that until they have more certainty about what's going to happen. But they'll come again, though. I mean, New Zealanders don't like to be down for too long. No, it'll bounce back. No question. Well, good luck. You have a job for life, haven't you? I mean, are you got any jobs going? Are you hiring anyone? Yeah, we're hiring people. Yes, I think you absolutely. Yeah, yourself and the liquidators. Yeah. All right, Keith, I appreciate your time on the program. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you so much.